Hello, good morning. This is Breakfast with Bill Turnbull and Louise Minchin.
Calls for a major debate over the way drugs are used and controlled in the UK. Good morning. It's Monday, the 10th of December.
Also this morning, the two DJs who...
Also this morning, we're speaking to the mother of a young man who spent 2 years fighting extradition to the United States over a website he set up, which allowed people to share films and TV.
His name is Richard O'Dwyer, and he made a deal with the authorities in New York. He's now free to go back to university. We'll hear his story.
And Carol has the weather. Well, thanks very much.
Good morning. Our main story for you this morning. Britain should consider relaxing drugs laws, taking tougher action against drug dealers and doing more to help addicts get the treatment they need. That's according to a report by MPs.
The Home Affairs Committee said Britain's drugs policy was not working and it's called on the Prime Minister to appoint a royal commission to review the issue. We'll have more on the story at 7:10. Talking to two drug policy advisors involved in the committee's report. They have different views on how the problem of drugs should be tackled.
The head of the Australian radio company at the centre of the prank phone call incident says the station tried to contact the London hospital 5 times to discuss what it had recorded before going to air.
Yes, a nurse, Jacinta Saldana, is thought to have killed herself 3 days after putting the call through at the King Edward VII Hospital. Now, the DJs who made the hoax call have spoken to the media in Australia, and our correspondent Duncan, very much Duncan Kennedy there in Sydney.
The Ministry of Defence has awarded a £1.2 billion contract to BAE Systems to build the Royal Navy's latest submarines, securing 3,000 jobs.
HMS Audacious will be the 4th of 7 Astute-class attack submarines. The first one built, though, HMS Astute, has already suffered delays and technical problems. The BBC's been given exclusive access on board. The former South African President Nelson Mandela has spent a second night in hospital. Officials...
Up to 100,000 patients with cancer and rare diseases in England are to have their entire genetic code or genome sequenced, the Prime Minister will announce later today.
Downing Street said £100 million have been set aside for the project over the next 3 to 5 years, and its aim is to transform cancer treatment by giving doctors a better understanding of patients' treatment needs and the ability to develop new drugs. Here's our medical correspondent, Fergus Walsh.
Specialist services that support NHS cancer, heart disease and stroke patients in England are being put at risk because of budget cuts and organisational changes, according to Labour.
Over 40 cancer and cardiac networks reported more than 100 job cuts among support staff over the past 3 years. Those are the main stories. We'll get latest sports headlines from Sally in a few moments. First, though, the Royal Mail delivered 1.4 billion cards, letters and parcels just last Christmas alone. How is Britain's postal service preparing this year for its busiest season?
Steph is at a sorting office in Stockport. Morning to you, Steph. They must be busy already.
Right, all I was going to say was, actually, can you see if you can find my Christmas card to you? It's behind you there somewhere. I posted it in Stockport the other day. Oh, cheeky. All right, see you later.
Thank you.
Now I've got to work on one, though.
Oh, no, you got it.
Let's take a look at this morning's papers. Telegraph leading on a story about Owen Paterson.
Front page of the Times, they've got a story about the police apparently wanting to move into cafes and churches. They want to give the public to be able to report crime at what they're calling access points in different places, as funding cuts are forcing the closure of front counters in police stations. The
Guardian has a story about Labour injecting escape me for a second, there you go. Talking about him later. Yes.
Front page of the Mail, hoax nurse died of shame. That's according to her family. Of course, the presenters who made that hoax call to the hospital where the Duchess of Cambridge was based have been talking this morning. We'll hear more about that later. And lots of papers talking about Patrick Moore.
And the Daily Mirror has its own angle on the...
Should we look inside the newspapers? Oh, look at this. Where do you think that is? The Alps? No, it's not. Skiers taking to the slopes of England yesterday as snow brought an unexpected benefit. They were skiing in Cumbria and Derbyshire as the Met Office warned that the UK is being hit by an icy blast from Russia.
And Christmas is here, as evidenced by our tree. We've got to point that out.
Trees.
Yeah, trees indeed, 2 of them. But not quite as joyful decorations as these in Melksham in Wiltshire, put up by Alex Goodhind. He spends more than 4 weeks putting those up, and he raises money for charity. He needs to, because his electricity bill goes up to £1,000 for the month. But he's already raised in previous years more than £8,000 for a hospice
Where is the actual house?
You can see it from space.
Where is the house? The house is here.
In there somewhere.
Goodness.
Yeah, amazing. So you can't lose your way home if you live near him, can you?
Can't, can you?
Those are the papers.
It's just going to 17 minutes past 6. You're watching Breakfast from BBC News, the main stories this morning. Also coming up in the programme this morning, her son spent...
Now let's get a look at the weather. And Carol, very frosty.
Morning.
It certainly is. Good.
See you later.
Sally is out in Sheffield this morning at the English Institute of Sport. Well, hope you'll be catching up with those young people racing around the track later.
Bit of research on our own, and you say you didn't do much sport, but we know that you did, and we've got proof.
I have got a hockey stick and probably the same.
It looks very nice. See you later.
Thank you very much, Sally. See you later.
27 minutes past 6. All's coming up on Breakfast this morning. Time now to get news, travel and weather where you are.
Hello, very good morning. This is Breakfast with Bill Turnbull and Louise Minchin.
On the programme today, we're going to speak to Terry Waite, kidnapped and tortured 25 years ago by associates of the militant group Hezbollah. He'll be telling us what it was like to return to Beirut and seek reconciliation with his captors.
After their 10-year-old daughter died from a brain tumour, Paula and David Holmes decided to raise money for research into alternatives to radiotherapy. We'll meet them to talk about the difficult decision facing parents in a similar situation.
What happens if your clutter outgrows your house? Aggie Mackenzie will be here to tell us why some hoarders are turning to storage units and it's costing them thousands of pounds.
And move over Michael Flatley. Irish dancing has some new stars. Dance troupe Prodigy will be here to perform their version of modern Irish dancing for us live later.
First, though, let's get to our main news this morning. And Britain should consider relaxing the drug laws, taking tougher action against drug dealers, but doing more to help addicts get the treatment they need. That's according to a report from MPs. More on that story at 10 past 7, when we'll talk to two drug policy advisors who are involved in the committee's report. They have conflicting views on how the problem should be tackled.
The two DJs who made a prank phone call to the hospital treating the Duchess of Cambridge have given an interview to an Australian broadcaster where they said they were gutted and heartbroken by the death of the nurse who answered the call. The Ministry of Defence has awarded a £1.2 billion contract to BAE Systems to build the Royal Navy's latest submarines, securing 3,000 jobs. HMS Audacious will be the fourth of 7 Astute-class attack submarines. But the former South African President Nelson Mandela has spent a second night in hospital. Officials say he's been undergoing tests, although it's not... Specialist services that support NHS cancer, heart disease and stroke patients in England are being put at risk because of budget cuts and organisational changes, according to Labour. This year's winner of the X Factor was decided last night. That's a look at the main stories this morning. We'll have the weather for you in about 15 minutes' time as well. Right now, though, 38 years have passed since Richard John Bingham, otherwise known as Lord Lucan, vanished. The 39-year-old peer of the realm fled London after allegedly murdering his children's nanny and then attempting to kill his estranged wife. The scandal shocked the 1970s Britain, and sightings of Lucan have trickled in from around the globe over the decades. But today, new evidence has emerged that's prompted Lord Lucan's brother to give his first television interview. Well, our reporter Glenn Campbell has been to speak to him. Now, time for sport. Sally's out in Sheffield this morning at the English Institute of Sport, trying to get girls more involved. Morning.
Thanks very much, Sally. See you.
19 minutes to 7. This is Breakfast. These are the main stories this morning. They're also on the programme this morning. I'm tempted, but I'm not going to sing them. No. Carol, let's catch up with the weather. Very good morning to you. It's very frosty.
Good morning.
Thanks very much. See you later.
The Royal Mail's employing a secret weapon for one of his busiest weeks of the year, dealing with all that extra post. Who could it possibly be? Our Steph in Stockport. Morning. Tough. Don't come back without it. Thanks very much, Steph.
Thank you, Steph. Now, when Richard O'Dwyer set up a website sharing links to film and TV programmes, he didn't think that he was doing anything wrong.
The authorities in the United States didn't agree, though. They said he was breaking copyright laws and wanted the student to be extradited to face charges.
His 2-year battle ended last week when he travelled to the US voluntarily and was ordered to pay £20,000 by a judge in America. Joining us now is Richard's mother.
10-7. He was the self-taught astronomer who inspired generations of stargazers and introduced millions to the study of the universe.
Sir Patrick Moore, who passed away yesterday, will be best remembered for his long-running BBC series The Sky at Night, which he presented for more than 50 years. In a moment, we'll speak to his co-presenter, Chris Lintott. But first, let's have a look at the great man in action. Chris Lintott co-presented The Sky. It's just lovely watching back at some of those pictures. You know them, you know him very well, and you first met him when you were very small, didn't you?
Yes, I was 12, and he was
an unforgettable experience because
yes.
of his delivery and also because of the things he told you, and he must have inspired.
That was Patrick's
those long programmes during the moon.
That's right, exactly.
And just very quickly, he was engaged, and his fiancée was tragically killed, and he never recovered from that.
That's right. That was perhaps.
Yes, Chris will be back later alongside Queen guitarist Brian May, who'll tell us his own memories of Sir Patrick Moore. He was a huge inspiration for him.
Right now, let's catch up with the news, travel, and weather where you are. We'll see you at 7. Hello, very good morning. This is Breakfast with Bill Turnbull and Louise Minchin.
Calls for a major debate over the way drugs are used and controlled in the UK.
The Prime Minister.
Morning's Monday, the 10th of December.
Also this morning.
And it's getting very frosty out there. Carol has the weather. Carol, thanks very much.
Good morning. Our main story here this morning. Britain should consider relaxing drug laws, taking tougher action against drug dealers and doing more to help addicts get the treatment they need, according to a report by MPs.
The Home Affairs Committee says Britain's drugs policy isn't working, and it's called on the Prime Minister to appoint a royal commission to review the issue. And more on this story in about 10 minutes when we talk to 2 drug policy advisors involved in the committee's report with different views on how the drugs problem should be tackled.
The 2 DJs who made a prank phone call to the hospital treating the Duchess of Cambridge have given an interview to an Australian broadcasters where they said they were gutted and heartbroken by the death of the nurse who answered the call. Mel
Gregg and Michael Christian cried as they recorded the interview, which is to be broadcast later this morning. Let's speak to our... Thanks very much, Duncan Kennedy in Australia.
And we'll get to more on that a little bit later as well. Now, the Ministry of Defence has awarded a £1.2 billion contract to BAE Systems to build the Royal Navy's latest submarines, securing 3,000 jobs.
HMS Audacious will be the 4th of 7 Astute-class attack submarines, but the first one built, HMS Astute, has already suffered delays in technical problems. The BBC has been given exclusive access on board.
Up to 100,000 patients in England with cancer and rare diseases are to have their entire genetic code sequenced for future research.
Downing Street says £100 million has been set aside for the project over the next 3 to 5 years. The aim to transform cancer treatment by giving doctors a better understanding of patients' treatment needs and the ability to develop new drugs. Here's our medical correspondent, Fergus Walsh. Specialist services that support NHS cancer, heart disease and stroke patients in England are being put at risk because of budget cuts and organisational changes, according to Labour. More than 4
tributes have been pouring in for the astronomer and broadcaster Sir Patrick Moore, who died yesterday. He was best known...
Chris Lintott talking about Sir Patrick Moore, who died yesterday. He'll be back with Brian May in the next hour.
Absolutely. It is 7:10. For years, drug addicts have been punished with criminal convictions, but now MPs are being asked to think about a radical new approach.
Yes, the government's being urged to relax the drug laws and focus on better rehabilitation for people. It's looking to other countries like Portugal for inspiration.
The Commons Home Affairs Committee said current strategies weren't working, but is it as simple as that? With us now is Tom Lloyd. I know you have pretty much different views on this. Tom, to you first of all. In Portugal, they have this system where they depenalise drugs. Would that be a system that you would like to see?
Yes, it would.
Right.
It's 7:15. Still to come on the programme today. We're going to speak to 2 parents.
Catch up with the weather right now, and Carol's been telling us it's cold, it's cold. Morning, Carol.
Good morning. It certainly is.
See you later.
It's been a great year for women in British sport, particularly with the Olympics, the athletics and boxing and the cycling.
Carry on, Bill.
In the limelight as never before. Official figures, though, show that just 1 in 8 14-year-old girls are doing the recommended level of physical activity.
So the question we're asking is, what is the best way to get girls fit and active? Sally Nugent is at the English Institute of Sport in Sheffield, where 2 of our gold medal winning women, Jess Ennis and Nicola Adams, train. Morning, and they are inspiring me already. I want to go and do what they're doing, Sally.
Go then, pick up your kettle weight there.
Go on, I will. Yeah.
All right, see you later.
Where is that one?
Let's continue talking about sport, actually, because it was, of course, an extremely successful Olympic Games for Team GB with a grand total of 65 medals, 29 of them gold.
Yeah, 6 in track and field, which means our next guest has some big shoes to fill. Peter Eriksson's just taken... it looked fantastic in the Olympics. When you look at the track and field, though, against the whole range of medals that Team GB won, do you think there's still some work to do?
It's always work to do.
What are you going to do about it? How are you going to make us win more golds?
Well, you know, that's...
What sort of sports particularly, though, do you think, in athletics? Which ones will you be targeting some specifically?
No, not necessarily.
Fantastic record as head of the Paralympics team for UK athletics. What can you bring from their success to Team GB in Rio?
The success, Peter is who was the sports psychologist for cycling.
Could just refer back to what Sally's talking about this morning. She's doing a series for us this week about how to encourage young girls into sport, because these figures are quite shocking about how few of them do sport. How do you think, what's the easiest way to try to get them into sport and to stay in sport as well? Nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. 27 minutes past 7 now. Last year, Royal Mail posted 1.5 billion cards and parcels over Christmas. Well, processed rather than posted. Steph is putting her stamp of authority on the sorting office in Stockport.